You dumb.
Me? Hello? Okay,
Good morning, everybody. How are you all doing? How are you lovely, lovely, lovely nerds doing? We have a lovely raccoon with us today. Vanya, do you want to say hi?
No.
Vanya doesn't want to talk to you all, chat. Sorry. Canceling stream. Bye, everybody.
What? Perfect.
Kidding. No, too bad. Vanya's not allowed to leave. Sorry, Vanya. You're stuck here.
No!
Yeah, no?
Let me free! Let me
No.
free!
You're still in the bucket. I'm not allowing you out of the bucket. How is
Why am I in the
everyone-
cup bucket? Why did you shove me in here?
It's a normal
Explain.
bucket. It's a normal bucket.
No,
Alright.
it stinks.
Good morning, Carmia. Thank you for getting first. Good morning, Honeydew. Thank you for getting second. Good morning, Dwarf. Thank you for getting third. And thank you for checking in, Dwarf, Honeydew, Ocean, Spell. Hello, Pink. Thank you for checking in, Carmia. Gibbets, Lilith Queen. I think. Wait. Where are we? Where are we with the check-ins? Lilith. Draconion. Thank you for checking in. Boku. Thank you for checking in. Echo. Jessica. Thank you for checking in. And Sniff. Oh, Sniff. There we go. Mwah. Good morning, everybody. All right. So for those of you who have not been here this morning, we are doing... Oh, good morning, Olive. Scrandle. We're doing Scrandle this morning. It's going to be Draco. Draco works. Draco is easier to say. But yes, we are doing Scrandle. If none of you have ever heard of Scrandle, that's fair. It is a weird little game that Vanya introduced me to it. Vanya, can you explain what the game is?
Sorry, I'm mad munching this fucking cucumber. So... I didn't spit it out because you were like, oh shit, you put me on the spot.
Yeah, Vanya, speak,
okay.
don't eat, stop eating, starve, Vanya. Tell me things.
I'm putting my plate away. It's gone. It's off my desk.
Please
okay,
keep your plate on the desk.
Later. So you guys ever go to footy matches? You go footy?
For those of you who,
the Yanks call it soccer.
Yeah, soccer.
You guys call it
games.
soccer. Yeah.
Also,
'Cause
football
you guys are
matches.
so special.
Why do you call it footy? Why do we got to make it cute?
It's just the nickname. You know, right? And you know, as us Brits do, because I am British, unfortunately, to some extent. You know, we gotta get hydrated. We gotta get our munchies in. We get a little peckish. So we go to the Scrandies. We go get some Scrandles.
Wait,
it's just like stall food.
No, Scrandle is not what you call food at a football match.
No, my brain is dead. I'm sorry. It's Scran.
Okay.
It's Scran. My bad.
Wait,
it's
no,
Scran.
but they call it Scran? They call it Scran. That's a thing. Like that's
That's
the
why
name.
it's called Scrandle.
I thought it was just
Scran
a stupid name.
No. Scrandle is based off Scran and Wordle.
You're
Because
kidding
it's also
me.
a daily thing. No, you can look this up. Scran is a real word.
I believe you.
That's
I
why
believe
you call
you.
this food.
It is insane to me that it took me this
You
long.
You just like found out through me today.
Yeah, what the heck is why would you call it a Scran?
Scran is like a separate word for like stall food at like footy matches and shit. It's like sports, like stand food. It's like the specific term for it.
You what I call it?
What do you call it?
Food, because it's what it is.
It's not food sometimes. That's why it needs its own name. And you know this.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna get food or a drink. I mean, to be fair, some of it doesn't look like food. Some of it doesn't look like food, so...
Yeah, that's why it needs its own scientific distinction, okay? Us Brits were on that shit.
This brings a whole new,
Hi, everyone.
a whole new understanding of everything. So anyways, chat, we're going to be doing the Scrandle thing more regularly. It's probably going to be an earlier stream slot. I unfortunately forgot we were going to do an earlier stream slot and overslept, and Vanya hates me now, which is understandable. But
I don't hate you. I hate other people today.
But that means that we're going to be doing this at like an earlier stream slot on the weekends, and we're going to be doing this repeatedly until we eventually make a tournament out of it. So if you're interested in being part of the Scrandle tournament with judges and hosts Gene and Vanya, please let me know. I'll probably make a section in the Discord about it and probably make a thing on Twitter about it, but eventually we're going to be hosting a Scrandle tournament. Why?
Wait, hold on. I need to squash this beef. Mustorf just said, didn't Vanya always hate? No! Since when?
Vanya loves
It's
me,
been the other way
but
around.
also loves being mean to me.
No, I love Gene too much, bro. Gene's my homie.
Because we're cute little guys, it's
And
fair.
I am attached to Gene like a malignant tuber.
I froze.
So
oh,
much-
somebody gave me head pats. It is funny that head pats will freeze me every once in a while.
Oh no, I'm on top of your son. I'm on top of your son. You need to fix
That's
that real quick.
Okay.
Wait, Gene.
Consume.
Put me to the same size so it's both of us together.
him.
No, I don't want to eat the dog. Too much hair, fur ball everywhere.
Wait. Give me a second. We're gonna fix this, chat. I need to do this real quick.
Oh.
Vanya has zero interest in talking to me, actually, so Vanya's gonna talk to fake me. Is it flip horizontal? No, it's vertical. No, dang! I made Vanya upside down. Vanya was British for a little bit. Not British, sorry, Australian. Same thing.
You could just say Indonesian. That is also South Hemisphere.
Yeah, but Indonesians aren't upside down.
Yes, they are. It's
No.
Southern Hemisphere.
That's not how that works.
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
They're best friends.
Oh my God, Chad, look, it's me and Gene calling each other gay on TikTok for 50 minutes.
Wait,
a day.
your eyes go back and forth, so it's like you're looking from me to me.
It's because I did the pupils differently, because I did mine first before I did yours and Pinky.
No, but I like yours because it
was
looks
like
like
a
you're
test.
looking back and forth. It's really cool. Aren't they adorable, chat? Chat, did you know that you can commission Vanya to make you one of those? Vanya has a VGen.
No, wait.
So-
No.
If you'd like to hire Vanya, let me just actually go see if I can find VioletLune's VGen.
It doesn't exist. You don't have the link. It doesn't exist.
What's your VGen?
Wallace loves cheese? Bro, we got Wallace and Gromit stat in the chat. Hey.
Wait, y'all like cheese?
What's my VGen?
Wallace? Yeah, what's your VGen?
It's just my name.
Which one? VioletLune?
Yeah.
Okay, give me a second. Chat, we're gonna stop the music until I find this.
Pretty sure it's on my card. It's on my,
There it is. Oh, you didn't do the underscore at the end.
Yeah, I only did the underscore on Twitch because, some person in Japan took it before I did.
Which is so weird.
I'm sorry.
Which is so
I'm
weird.
sorry.
All right, chat. If you want to go support Vanya and you want to go pay Vanya and to make art for you, there you go. There's Vanya's link. Gene can't listen and search at the same time.
Really?
I cannot. No, my brain shuts off once I'm listening to music and talking. That if I do anything
you
additional.
That person on VGen. You should never look at that person's listings.
So if you'd like to pay that person to make you art, that's Vanya. They do cute little dumb things. You're late.
I can. Well, you know what? Instead of making little jammies, I can make you Empreg.
Never mind. Don't go take that money.
Yeah, there it is.
Jeez. Why is there Empreg art of me? You know what the worst part is that not only is there one Empreg art of me, there's multiple Empreg art of me. There is multiple Empreg art of me.
You should print them out in real life and put them on your fridge, like a collage.
No. All right, let's see if we can
You're
get this
pregnant with our
going.
love gene. I take that back. I just realized what I said. I'm sorry.
Did you?
Listen, my mind's Oh, I can't speak today.
Yeah, it's fine.
Brain's
You know,
lagging.
hey, chat. Speaking is legal now. All right. We're gonna...
How dare you? You need to share your screen on my end because I have a 5-second delay according to Twitch.
all of these, and you will lose.
No.
Get ready to
Oh,
get...
your son is getting a lobotomy from the capture.
That's okay. My son needs a lobotomy. Die, son.
What? No. Illegal or legal? Huh? It's illegal to farm thoughts.
Okay. Do not all do.
Can you
No,
sponsor
no,
different-
no, not community-sponsored MPEG art. That would be... No.
Chat. I do not officially endorse Inktober, so I'm gonna start a event in February where everyone in the community can submit their own MPEG art for Gene in the month of February.
Amazing.
See, I'm helping you. I'm helping you.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Awful, awful, awful. That's my birth month. Why are you tainting my birth month like that?
We're filling you with love, Gene. We love you.
A full canvas and acrylic paint. I'm getting a P.O. box, chat, if you want to send me art. Imagine this. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. If people send me art, I will hang all of the art on my wall, framed. And so somebody comes in, and all they see is a wall of MPEG Gene.
Beginning of end of February.
No, I'm not getting a P.O.
Your
box. P.O.
birthday
box
is
costs money.
17th.
February 17th is my birthday, chat. Oh, by the way, we're making Gene Day because I wanted a holiday. October 22nd is now Gene Day. Okay, I might get a PO box. But October 22nd is now Gene Day. We're gonna celebrate. I don't know
Legally
why.
mandated holiday.
Yes.
You
what
know
do you
why?
mean I'm
Join
an
the
Aquarius? That
DUI?
makes sense. Huh?
I told you why that day.
Yes.
Why do you
So
forgot?
22nd is gonna be a holiday for Gene Day.
11 more days. Pomo!
Hello, Pomo. No, okay, no. We got to talk about this, chat, real quick. What do you mean me being an Aquarius makes sense? What do you mean me being an Aquarius makes sense? What's that supposed to mean? Huh? Don't. I'm an Aquarius, I would know. And? Because I act like an Aquarius. How do Aquariuses act? What do? I hold water? Chat, I'm holding water right now. Does that make me an Aquarius? Because they're the water bearer? Huh?
You're a squirter?
Excuse me, Vanu. Stop saying I act like it. Okay, we're playing Scrandle. I'm gonna screen share with you. Don't out me for all the stuff on my screen, okay?
Despite my feeling and my lore, I'm not a star girly IRL, so I have no idea why they're calling you Aquarius girlies.
Oh. I am girly pop, chat.
Oh, I see his entire screen chat. I can see his coordinates. That's his social security number on that tab right there.
Why is he in the ocean? Why is he approaching? Why is he getting closer?
What are you, a shark?
It's just me in a speedboat coming for your location. Hey, chat.
God.
I also have a Leo in my house. I think I'm a Leo rising.
Leo.
I think I'm like a double Aquarius and a Leo rising.
I legit don't remember mine. I know it's apparently I'm a Sagittarius, but I could be the the one other one that isn't counted for some reason.
Why am I this now? Okay. Chat, do you know what we're going to do? I'm going to post my official star chart at I don't know, at a certain amount of subs. Then we can I will pay somebody to come onto stream and analyze my star chart. This actually sounds like fun. I'm going to do this. Wait.
Good gosh, apologies from Tumblr.
I have ideas, chat. I'm going to have a girlie come on and analyze my star chart, and it'll be great. Once then, you can all be like, "Oh, this is why you're such a red flag." Okay, it's time for the game. Are we good, ready for the game? Vanya, you ready?
I'm scared because I'm not used to this new website, and there's something called evil mode.
Chats, there is now evil mode. We will try evil mode after doing a practice. Yes.
Wait, that's what your screen looks like?
What do you mean?
The chat just loaded in for me, the overlay.
Oh, you see my overlay? Yeah.
Why do you use that font?
Oh, no, it's the only font that has the 7 TV emotes.
Oh, wait, really? Oh, that's weird.
Yep.
Evil mode.
Evil mode. Evil gang, evil gang, evil gang. Chat, could you please... Could we get evil gang in chat, please? Let's get some evil gangs in chat. There we go. Evil gang, evil gang, evil gang.
How is evil mode? I don't know. This is new. I haven't played this in like months.
Don't balk me! No! Ah!
No, he froze!
It's fine.
I'm safe from the bunking!
Alright, chat. You ready? 5, 4, 3. Stop setting things on fire. 2, 1.
Wait, we're playing daily?
Oh shit, that's the wrong one.
Oh shit. Oh! Who was Lionel Messi?
Wait, who's Messi? What?
The bottom right. Pizza is ordered by... Who is that? There's no price.
You don't know who Messi is?
Is that the first name of Messi? Like the
yes,
guy,
that's his Messi. This is Messi. Okay, chat.
Hey, so here's the thing, right? I have a family team that I support, but I know jack shit about footy.
Okay.
What is happening here? Wait, did they just dump a bunch of pepper in the middle of that pizza? It's
no, I think that's like oil and stuff, and like little seasonings.
Like vinaigrette or something? Like
yes, perhaps. Oh, but wait, why is there olives on this pizza? Wait. Okay, so on the left side, we're going to look at this. It's chicken with a little bit of lettuce. I don't know exactly why this is like this. Chicken, chips, and cheese.
It looks like it's like a potato underneath the cheese.
That is a green tomato.
Those exist? You've never seen those?
No, I have. Who's eating an unripened tomato?
It could be like with vinegar and stuff. Not seasoned.
Okay, and then we have a tomato pizza. These they don't look wrong, but they also look wrong. You know what I mean? Like they don't look bad, they just look wrong.
This photo on the right looks like it was taken like the 2010s, but you look on top and it was taken from this year.
Yeah, but this is not a fried tomatoes. That's different, Gibbets. Hello, thank you for the raid. Hello, you loco. Wait.
Oh.
Wait.
Wait.
We have new people. Hello, Raiders. Raiders, give me 1 second. I will go back to the normal voice for a little bit. All right. Hello, Raiders. How you doing? Just here, come with me. I have a special raid room. It's fine. It's a special little raid room. Okay? Don't worry about that noise. It's okay.
Wait, did Twitch just add itself in you? I'm so confused. Uh-oh. Jin, where are you going?
Don't worry about it. Vanya, behave yourself. I'll be right back. Hello, Raiders. Okay. Hi. Lovely to meet you. My name's LuckyJene. I'm a gambler. I'm a writer. I'm a flirt. And I'm a unregistered villain. We're getting to the point where I can be registered soon, but we're not there yet. But so I just need, we have a little process. I need to make sure you're decontaminated and everything. So I'm just gonna have you step back a little bit further. Okay. Just one sec. Don't worry about this. It's fine. Okay. Anyways, hello, Raiders. You're not leaving. I hope you enjoy your time here because, well, yeah. But hi, welcome. How was stream? You can tell me all about it. Was it good? Did you have a good stream? Wait, what did you play? Let me take a quick look at what you were playing. Your local crab puff. Dead by Daylight. Wait, did you win? How'd you do? I believe in you. Good. Are you a killer main or are you a survivor main? Not that I play. I suck at the game. I rage. It was awful. I only play multiplayer with friends. But oh, also, if you need to raid and run, feel free to do so. I don't want to hold you against. I kind of want to hold you against your will, but you're also allowed to leave as the streamer. I can just hold your chat here. It's fine. If you need to raid and run and take care of yourself, that's totally fine. And also, lovely viewers from your local crab puff. It's good to meet you, and I hope you enjoy your time here. If there's anything you can do to make your stay more comfortable, let me know. Well, that's good. I'm glad they can get a little rest while they're here. But yes, and also let me make sure I gotta give you a follow. I want to come check you out sometime. There we go. He forgets to push the cage in. I know, the cage is against the wall right now, but I do occasionally forget it. Here, wait, we'll see if I can wake them up, okay? Shake the cage! Shake the cage! Okay, are they awake? No? We'll get them up. Alright, we'll put you back in the corner. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I love the cage. I'm so glad I invested in a cage, chat. Like, I mean, look at it. Look how useful it is. I love the cage. But yes, feel free to hang out if you'd like to, and if you need to raid and run, that is good as well. And I'm glad you had a good stream. All right, back to this awful. Why? Why?
I don't think you could pay me to even eat the pizza on the right, like for free. Like, I
mean, like, all of this is stuff. Thank you for the follow. Thank you. All of this is like, technically doable. I don't know. Okay, the question is, which one of these is the best?
The left.
Oh, hey, wait. I gotta ask them. Which one? The ones on the left is better? I agree. What do you mean? Thanks for voting. Wait, did they move their stuff? This is now the voting system? Instead of doing it on Twitter?
Why is the one on the left unknown?
Oh, wait. So. Did you? Crab puff. Wait, what TikTok did you see? What TikTok did you see? What is that?
Oh no.
What? That is dog food. That is actively dog food.
Oh, dog, it's your dinner.
Okay. The cage fish. You'll stomach the one on the left? Okay, I mean, like, this does look like something made from Fallout.
What am I looking at?
Hey! God, I love that people are seeing multiple. I don't know.
It's pork.
Well, yeah, like, at first I was like, it's chili, but it's not chili. It's just, like, weirdly mushy pork.
Pork and beans.
Is that egg?
That's not egg.
What's at the bottom, though?
Is
Polenta, maybe?
I don't know. I wish I knew. Where's this from? Brazil? Oh, fuck. I don't know my Brazil food.
They're getting worse and worse. And the right one is that one is like bought at a gas station. Okay, Brazil, we okay stomaching dog food? Is that all right?
I mean, you can. I mean, you're literally a dog, so yeah.
You want the burger? This has been microwaved. What is the point of this game?
Who is saying they want the burger?
So chat, here's what this game is. So a bunch of people submit pictures of food from their local football matches, and you then vote on which one is better, and then you have a match where you have to try to guess which one is better, and whoever guesses the most of what people voted wins. You cook the plain burger. Yeah. And so eventually we're going to do a tournament where we bring people on to try to guess like which one is best, and we're gonna see who can guess the most best by like after a month. So we're gonna have a whole tournament with tiers and everything. It's gonna be great. The burger does look dry as hell, and you know, I would risk the thing on the left. The left is something I would order, but then I'd be a little bit disappointed, but then I'd cover it in ketchup and it'd be fine. Thank you for the lurk. All right, Vonnie, what are you picking?
I'm picking the left.
All right, I think I'm also picking left. Chat, you're overruled. Oh, the first one is a vote.
Wait, so what was the
thingy.
first one?
The first one is the chance to vote. And now we do everything else.
Okay. I need to process what's on the screen, so...
Yep.
Pie mash and liquor. Dude, that is 2 pints of piss, dude. That's awesome. I love pints of piss. Wait, wait, $5.50 for 2 pints of piss and a pie? And then we got...
Okay.
9 pounds!
The thing on the left looks awful. I mean, I don't know why peas are yellow, unless it's just a really bad photo. But this is 9 pounds, chat.
That's not...
Alexa, how much is 9 pounds in dollars?
9 pounds is about $12 and 2 cents.
$12 for this. $12 for this. Oh, Gibbets, nice job. You got it right on. So 2 cups of beer, and this, or the chicken sandwich for $12.
The left, bro. You gotta do the left.
We're gonna have to flip a coin on this one. Alexa,
What do you mean?
heads on left, tails on right. Alexa, flip a coin.
Sorry, something went wrong.
Apparently we don't. There's no coin flipping. All right,
But
chat, you know what?
There's 2 pints of beer for both of us. We can share.
Yeah, true. But I'm gonna have to have chat vote on this one.
Chat, you know which one to pick for.
You get a vote on this one. You ready? You get 1 minute. Left, right. No additional votes. Actually, no, we're gonna allow you additional votes. Which one looks better? Go.
Yeah, you got 2 peas and pick.
Shut up. I don't even want to look at the left one. That is a very sad pie.
Why does the pie look so small?
Because it is so small. That's one of those wooden forks. You know that's tiny.
That's a spoon. There's a wooden spoon.
I hate this. It does look kind of burnt. All right, let's see what the votes are.
I'm not drinking piss. I'm not drinking piss. Hey, Chad, work for me. I love beer.
I love piss. Not voting because Vonnie's intimidating.
What if I intimidating? What do you mean I'm intimidating?
Vonnie's gonna be like, "You pick wrong, and I'm gonna punch you." In that voice.
No.
Peep. 25. Right got 25 votes. Okay. All right. That's a lot of votes.
That is a lot of votes. Holy shit. I guess
Okay,
they picked right. Steak pasty, and it's only showing the small tip of the pie. Okay?
That is enough. The tip
and then
is
you have
enough.
cheesy chips, and it's...
The tip is enough when it comes to this.
Gene, they salted the cheese. That's not even melted.
They didn't put salt on the fries. They put it on the cheese, and they didn't melt it. Do we need to sit on this one for long? Do we need to even look at this for more than a second, chat?
It's my 18th reason why. I hate this. I hate this so much.
7%, thank you.
Fucking God. Now, who the fuck ejaculated on the nachos?
Who did
Why
my
is it
man's
that
wrong
color?
like this?
Okay, the salt and pepper chicken kind of goes
Looks
hard though.
amazing.
But 950
Looks amazing. Imagine being like, okay, chat, I want to see how good I look like. All right, so it's going to be me and Miss Universe here. Pick who looks better. It's like, it doesn't matter how good you look. You're put next to something professionally made. The right looks incredible.
The right
The
looks so
left is
tasty.
just like somebody microwaved this. This is cheese that has been over microwaved. And I know this because
You
I've
have
done
the
this.
skin. He has the skin.
This is what happens when you bake the cheese for too long. Yeah, we're not even gonna.
Double cheese.
Who is doing my man's wrong like this? Most boring burger you've ever seen. The most standard burger ever.
Why is it? Why is
Oh my
that a
God.
Dutch angle? Why is that a Dutch angle?
It is a Dutch angle. It's to make you feel more confused about the burger. This
Am I
burger,
watching The fucking Shining? What is going on?
this burger is unsettling. That's not. That's chimichurri. Chimichurri.
Chimichurri. It's
Chimichurri.
mint.
It's delicious.
No,
It's so
it's not.
good. It's not grass or fungus. It's delicious. I mean,
Hey,
the
Gene?
yeah.
I've not had chimichurri before. Don't look at me like that.
Get yeeted into the
I'm
void.
sorry. No, no.
All right, we're resummoning Vanya. Give me a second. Chat, I need you to I need you to chant Vanya's name so Vanya can come back or it'll be stuck in the void forever. It's true facts. Chant for me. Chant for me, chat. Vanya, come back. Is Vanya a fairy? Exactly, gotta clap your hands so Vanya comes. You're getting chanted. Oh, Vanya's back. Amazing. I didn't know you could be summoned that easy.
I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back.
Okay, we're doing the amazing looking steak. What do you mean 62%?
Yeah, 60. Okay, all right. Okay. Wait, I'm sorry. The fucking onion
With five-
and like
with
pizza
five
bread was from
onions.
this year.
No. But look at the instructions. 5 zeros Kenya with 5 pints.
Wait, 5 pints? Wait, hold on, wait. You're speaking my language now. Hold on, wait a minute.
Somebody.
Hey Chad, if you want to win me over, just put a pint or two of beer if something, and I'm fucking fucked.
You know why they have to include the 5 pints? Because it takes 5 pints to make you order something like that.
Is the bread even toasted?
Hey man, I got this piece of bread with some sauce and onions on it. You want it? Well, you know, like 5 pints ago I would have said no, but like at this point.
I generally want to Google translate like what that says because I don't know what this is. I just gotta.
I mean,
Why are you sniffing me? Why are you
I
sniffing
mean,
me?
I mean, gibbets, mashed potatoes but peas. Mashed potatoes but peas. That's the way I think about it. Makes sense. Chips gravy. Yeah, the onions aren't even cooked.
According to
This is
Google,
raw.
this says 5 fatty bread. 5 fatty bread.
5 what?
I don't feel like that's right. Fatty bread.
Oh, is the bread like soaked in fat and then fried?
I guess? I don't know.
Yeah, no, we're doing the left. So destruction of raw bread. Yeah.
God,
That is like, I hate
low. Okay, hold on, wait a minute.
Finally, some good food. Yeah, no, mushy is a
Nice
bad
at this.
word. If it'd been like mashed peas, I would have been so much more into it. But mushy peas does make it worse. No, look at
No,
this.
there's
Look
a
at this.
distinction between mushy and mashed peas. Mushy is that like it's like liquidated, and then mushy is the one with like some semblance of peas left.
Oh well, okay. Okay, so
Yeah.
this is good.
Wait,
Road people
free
men call
entry
other
into
people.
the match if you buy the pizza.
What? You buy this pizza and you
Yeah,
get it?
look.
That's kind of worth it.
Yeah, look, £9. Yeah, 9 pounds. What the
And the
fuck?
one on the right has soda and the chips. This all looks
yeah,
amazing.
and kind of your choice. Fries and kind of your choice.
Okay,
Hey, go to
okay.
the Met for getting Dr. Pepper. It's the best soda.
We need to. No. Chat. We can't just be like pizza, my love. We have to like these are equal in my mind. And the one on the left looks like a pan-sized, like a normal pizza, like a single serving pizza. The one on the right is a lovely burger, 2 patties, well built, amazing. This is what the Big Mac could have been, chat. All you have to do is throw some Big Mac sauce on it. This could have been the Big Mac. Why does the onion look photoshopped? Because it's perfect. This is a model
It looks like the
onion.
onions are coming towards me in like Mach speed.
The onions are coming towards you. They're hunting you down. Reward.
Have you seen a video where it's like the missile like always knows where it's going? It's like that's what I hear.
Missile. I don't remember like all of it, but I know the video and I know it's funny.
The voice is stuck in my head. That's on your Tangia actually.
That's a good question, chat. That's a good question. Look, you see this pizza? It's not cut all the way through. That means you're gonna have to rip it standing there.
No, I see the cuts.
No, but that's not cut all the way through. That's indents. That's been poorly cut.
Oh.
And there's
Okay,
slight charring. So like the pizza is slightly harder to eat.
I like slightly charred pizza.
Need for that.
I like gristle.
The
Give me
missile
a
knows
gristle,
where it's
chat, I'll eat
been,
it.
where it is, because it knows where it isn't. Just fold and bite. I like burnt crust. Okay. Yeah, and the burger was made like perfectly. And look at that cheese. And you get a soda.
No,
and they're
like
equal.
potato.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, but you get free entry to the match.
Well, we're gonna have
This
vote.
is hard.
Vote.
Oh fuck! I don't know.
This one is too hard, chat. I'm sorry.
Okay, you know what else is too hard?
No, it's not.
I didn't get to say yet.
No.
I didn't get to say yet. I was gonna say this cucumber
Oh, why do you have hard cucumbers?
because they're crunchy.
All right, chat. Vote for it. And make a stop at the Bluebell Factory. Nap time? That sounds sick.
The Bluebell Factory. What is Bluebell? What is
Ice
Bluebell?
cream. Ice cream.
Oh, is it good ice cream?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I want
It's
some-
like
oh,
the
fuck.
like I would be happy getting Bluebell like from like a kiosk, you know, like on the road. Like if you're out, Bluebell's very nice, but it's not like super decadent like Ben and Jerry's is. So like Bluebell's like what I would want if I'm like out in the heat.
I'm so sad, dude. We haven't had Ben and Jerry's in Hong Kong in like 15 years. They pulled out like entirely.
I can't make that joke. You can't make that joke.
Oh, because I said pulled out? You're so mature, Gene. You're so mature.
Chad, I am an adult.
Message me what you were about to say. Message me what you were about to say. You dingus. Oh my god, okay.
Right one. The burger
Hey,
one,
Chat,
chat. And we
burger.
won. We got it right. Woo. Proud of you,
Hey!
chat.
Hey, chat, 15 gifted subs and I'll read out what Gene just messaged me.
No. Illegal crimes. Okay. Do you know why they call it Dortmund? You know what Dortmund means?
No.
They make T-shirts. I'll have this very simple. Make T-shirts that say Dortmund on it, and it has an arrow pointing down.
Huh?
Dort means there, and Mund is mouth.
Ah! You know, it's pretty on brand for what you sent me just now too.
Left?
That's
Okay.
insane.
Left looks kind of solid. What is it? Barbecue pulled pork. Okay. Mac
Hold
and
on.
cheese. Bacon bits. Fried onions. Oh, it's fried onions on top. Sour cream. Barbecue sauce. Okay, that goes hard. Okay, no, but chat, this is a German doner. This is a German doner. That's Turkish.
It comes with a drink, and it's cheaper. It comes with a pint of piss.
I know, but chat, I can't do it. The German ancestry is pulling me to the right. I can't. No, I got it wrong.
No!
I couldn't stop myself. I'm sorry, chat.
One weenie looking at me like that.
Why is it dripping?
Is this where the t-shirt was pointing down to, Gene? I'm scared.
This was wrong. This is wrong. What do you mean pigs in a blanket? No, this is wrong. That's not pigs in a blanket.
This is from Brighton and Hove Albion.
You don't. Bacon is not the
AFC
blanket.
Wimbledon.
You don't wrap sausages in bacon. You have to. It's pastry. It has to be pastry.
I am sorry. I'm sorry. No, look on the right. That is not Scrandle. That is a fucking restaurant.
Oh, we can't choose that one. I mean, I get it. It's at Wimbledon. We're not choosing that one.
Included in hospitality ticket. No fucking way, dude.
Hospitality ticket. That means like they're like no.
Wait, hold on. Wait, I need to dissect this breakfast.
Okay, is it proper?
So 2 hash browns, baked beans, to cut the sausage, egg, tomatoes, mushrooms, bacon. Fucking black pudding.
That is a full English, right?
Yeah, it's missing the toast.
Tomatoes.
I don't know if they've eaten the toast, but if we put the toast, then it's a full English.
But this is with stuffing. I really don't like the one on the left. The one on the left, I hate. It just feels wrong. Like, why would you want random stuffing? I've only ever had stuffing with like gravy. Yeah. It just feels so weird.
I want the right just because the black pudding.
I also really want orange juice.
Yeah.
All right, we go with it. We'll go with it. Yeah.
Yep. You pick right.
We got it. Vanya, it's back.
It's the fucking bread.
Oh no, the other one's back too.
What is
this must be a common like thing. It's just paprika, fat, and onions. I don't know why.
It's from Hungary.
I prefer to starve. Valid. Wait, what's up, Vanya? I think Vanya got taken
Is
into the
anyone
void
here
chat.
from Hungary?
Oh yeah, chat. Are you from Hungary?
I want to know what this is. Is this like a delicacy? Oh, you know what this is? It's
What?
like the fairy bread of Australia.
Oh god, yeah, this is what we give our kids.
Yep.
There's nobody happy here. Eat your onion bread, child.
Left, I guess.
I
No,
mean, I
but Jane
guess.
crushed up about this last time.
It's worse. It's horrible. But I really don't want to eat onion bread. This is so stupid.
What's that even taste like?
Onion bread?
No, on the left. The herring.
I'm not happy. Double it and give it to the next guy.
Oh no. That's a different guy.
I feel like I could make this fish worth something. As long as it's not fermented herring. Yeah, I mean, I hope they're not going to do fermented herring in a match. People chose the onion bread.
Oh my god.
8 out of 10, chat. 8 out of 10. Woo.
Coming average.
We're above average,
Hey,
chat.
good.
And just like my... Anyways. All right.
Just like the thing you messaged me, huh?
We're going to do evil mode now.
Evil gang? Any evil
gang.
gangs?
Evil gang, evil gang, evil gang.
I don't know what evil gang. What is evil mode?
Evil gang.
What is evil mode?
Evil gang. Evil!
I'm
We're going to try it with practice, though.
So...
No. Nope. No.
This looks like a crime scene photo.
No. I've lived for too long. It's not worth it.
Hey, I just said you're immortal. No.
No, I'm dead, chat. I'm dying.
No. Your curse of immortality. You can't die. That is uranium loaded fries. I'm sorry to tell you this, chat.
Hey, Chad, it's the shrimp from Walmart. Check his pockets. Don't check my pockets. Okay,
There's nothing in there. He broke as hell.
Which one looks better? Bloody Mexican hot dog or uranium fries? I'm gonna have to go with the hot dog on this one. I'd like to loot the body. You find nothing. You find he's not wearing pants. Oh, okay.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Okay.
Chicken katsu, a load of fries, and
Okay, so that pie though looks incredible. I'm so scared.
Wait, it's from AFC Wimbledon, which was where the restaurant looking Scrandle was from. So I trust it already.
I mean, we're guessing as close as we can. So chicken katsu sounds delicious, but it's just on the fries, and it's from Scotland. Oh, but I like Scotland.
Scotland is very 50-50 with their scran. It's either like dog shit or it's like actually good food. So we can gamble here, or we can go for like.
No, it looks so good.
Whoa, it looks so good. I thought that was Dracula. Holy shit.
Kebab roll or spicy pet pizza. I think the pizza looks incredible. But this is 120.
With toast and dips.
We're guessing pretty much blind. Yep, because we're in evil mode. Pizza?
Evil mode.
All right, pizza it is.
I do love my pizza. Oh, that's so close.
What?
Huh? Oh, we have cataracts in one eye. Okay. It kind of looks like a face. Wait, like if you like unfocus, the little bit looks like a face.
All right, chat. Or sandwich. Or sandwich. You want some? Or would you like some sandwich?
What is this new noise?
Or sandwich. This could be anything. This could be you, chat. This is you on a plate.
There's no information. It's also blurred out. We don't know what it is.
Where's it from? I don't know. It's from. How much does it cost? It costs. Why are we on a platter?
Why are we on a plate?
Cause chat, you a whole ass meal. That's why. So.
Why'd you bark after that?
Because I'm not allowed to swear, and I said the word. Would you like some? Want to pull door?
What? I want to know what the fuck that is.
I'm sorry, chat. I'm gonna have to go. Yeah, we got it.
Hey, that's from the US. Oh my god,
this is just somebody's Instagram picture.
Yeah. Wood City with a pint. Yeah, that is just and then we got Derby County Fortnite Yorkshire pudding.
Oh, I love Yorkshire.
Oh wait, I do kind of want the Yorkshire pudding. Sausage.
Chat, I'm gonna close my eyes. Tell me left or right. Chat, left or right.
Someone said left.
No. I can't hear them. They need to talk louder. Chat, which side?
Okay. Chat, use the megaphone.
All right, I'm gonna pick the one you picked.
Right.
Wait.
Oh, yeah, somebody talked. Okay. Hey, you got it. No. Proud of you.
Hey.
Jibbit's betrayal.
Unknown Scran, no place. It looks like a fucking criminal photo. It looks like a mugshot.
No, this is a creepypasta.
Wait, no, that's the dog food from earlier. I fucking know you.
Oh yeah, I can recognize that dog food anywhere. And the sharing box looks cute.
It's like pink. It's so fun. It's burning my eyes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Solid.
Oh no, it's the guy holding the fucking pizza bread like a dick.
Why are they
These are both angled like the pigs.
Yeah. Hey girl, you want to see my sausage and lampe?
Okay, Gene. Okay, Gene. As a walking fruit bowl, which one grabs your attention more?
As a walking fruit bowl?
Yeah. You're the whole fruit salad, baby.
Okay, we're gonna go with that. No! It looks horrible. Why did I pick that?
Oh, currywurst is big.
Chat.
I noticed sausage roll on the left. That's the one that's like half burnt.
It looks like the worst thing in the world. It looks like the worst thing in the world.
What is that?
It's so molded. Why is the sausage roll looking at me? I see you, dwarf. I have seen beyond countless eons to arrive on your platter, and I'm coming for you. Yeah, the right looks safe. And honestly, currywurst? Can't go wrong with currywurst. It's ketchup, curry powder, mixed up, fries. So there's nothing wrong with this one. You can't mess this one up.
Nothing feels safe.
Nothing feels well. That's. Hey, Carmia, maybe if you had a higher power level, you might feel a little bit more safe. There we go. Currywurst. Oh, why is it burnt?
That's the burnt sausage roll.
It was burnt in the opposite direction than I was expecting it to be burnt.
That looks like super moldy, like frisbee on the right with the filter.
Chad,
it's like 15 like viruses.
I don't want to like upset anybody's stomach, so if you're currently eating anything, please stop.
Okay, I'm spitting on my cucumber.
Have you ever seen dog excrement during the winter where it all dries out? That's what the left looks like.
Why did you? Oh, why did you go to that?
That's what it looks like. It looks exactly like that.
Never in my life would I thought anyone would fucking use that to describe something visually.
Well, so pizza? We go with the pizza?
Yeah.
It does. It does. You know it does.
You are a dog, so yeah. Turns right. Pimsa.
Pimsa. Yeah. Oh, Pimsa. It doesn't look any better.
Oh my god, it is dog dookie.
Nailed it.
Why is the cheese pizza like bringing me to the light? It's bringing me to Jesus Christ. Do you see that?
To the light, we have pizza. Yeah.
DC United.
The sausage chip and curry.
Wait, $23.50? What is that in US dollars?
Oh, that is insane. Alexa, what's 23.50 pounds in dollars? 3,159. I don't think Alexa heard
Unless
me
it's
properly.
already in US.
No.
Unless it's already in the US. Like,
thank you for the looks.
Because they've done that.
Jean-son Leo. Oh,
that is insane for pizza.
Well, guess who's back again? Back again. Shady's back. Tell a
Wales!
friend.
We gotta pick them from Wales. And Hong Kong.
No, we are going with the one on the right. Not for that price. I don't know what... Wait. Hello, British people. Could you explain to me what a cob is?
Hey. Not British, it's Welsh.
All right, you British. Explain to me what a cob is.
Oh no, I'm not that British. I've lived in the nation for too long.
Well. It's a bread roll. Okay, let me go with this one. So there we go. Yeah, no, that's too much. That cheese was not cooked properly. 6 out of 10. Idolent. Oh, what do you mean indolent? They called me stupid. No more evil mode.
No more evil mode doesn't make you upset. I'm sorry.
It made me be bad at the game.
Bovril eyes Ollie.
No.
Wait, what is the Bovril? What is that?
It says underneath that. Do you see this? Beef
one-off
ice
handouts.
lolly.
He got that for free. They
Yes.
were giving this out. They weren't even selling it.
It's beef popsicle, chat. No, chat. Wait, give it a second. Beef popsicle or actual food? What do you want? A cow-flavored popsicle or food?
No, I'm not saying that live. That's TOS.
Beef. Yes. No, chat. No,
What's
don't
wrong with you
don't-
guys?
Don't pick it. The free is free.
Look at how perfect and cute the pie is on the right. You wouldn't get that?
Yeah, why would you ever
Thank you,
want
Chuck.
frozen beef stock? Why would you just during the summer? That's not what you should be doing. No. Listen, I'm listening. Explain right now. Give it to me.
I gotta just send you this. I'm sorry. This is just in my head. I can't hold it back anymore.
I'm listening, chat. I'm listening. You just want to try it. You're wrong. That's right. It might be
Fucking
good.
God. What is wrong with
me when I
Wait, it's from Dortmund again. I gotta put my mouth on there.
me
Me when I gotta put my mouth on your cracker. I don't know how you say shit.
well, chat. Okay, so we have little bread and big sausage. Or we have this thing here where we have these mushrooms on the pizza bread.
Little bread with my big sausage. Yeah, that's what I call a great night out of town.
No, in Spanish? What do you mean in
Lady
Spanish?
and the Tramp that shit.
Lady in the Trap. That's no chewing, only slurping.
I love this sausage, dude. I love how the last time we did this, we were also complaining that like they can never find the right bread for like the sausage sizes.
This feels
It's
intentional.
perfect.
This feels intentional. It's like, fuck your meat. Look how big my sausage
Dude,
is
it's already
compared to my
bending.
tiny little roll. Mm. No. So this is a German Brötchen. It's like a Kaiser roll. So it's not a burger bun. The bread is amazing. Trust me, chat. This bread is amazing. It's so good. It has this nice crunch. It's one of the best bread you will ever eat. And this is the bread that they normally do. So this bread is like 25 cents, not even. Like you buy like a bag of these for like $2, maybe, not even. You buy a dozen of these for $2. So, no, it was crazy. Okay, so hear me out. So I went to Germany recently, and my sister goes and she's like, "Hey, we are going to order some Brötchen, yeah?" And I was like, "Okay, cool, yeah." So we were going to go it was like $20 because we need like 20 of them, right? She's like, "No, here's like $2. You have so many, and all of them are amazing. They're so good." It is the wrong bread for the job, but just because it's the wrong bread for the job does not mean it's still good. We go with the sausage and we get it right because I am a king of this game. What the hell is this?
What is these fucking fries?
Long fry.
What is this, salad fingers? What the fucking year is this?
Long fry. Also, that's
from
cheese, by
Japan.
the way.
I'll take the Ritz cracker cheese. And the fucking salt.
I mean, that's like a cheese powder.
That is not Parmesan, brother.
No, but it's like a cheese powder. They do the same thing on their their sweet corn dog thingies, the cheese dogs.
I just people from wait. I'm trying to figure out what their jerseys are.
Oh, scheiße. I
Oh,
know
yeah,
this one.
similar.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I don't know.
Left is yummy.
Might
Left
be.
is yummy.
Those tacos look nice.
Wait, Asada, Pastora, and Birria. They have 3 different kinds of tacos here. And look at these. Look at the tortillas. This is so good. What do you mean? Why is this here? Oh, it's Las Vegas. That makes
actually,
sense.
Gina, I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
What's up?
Soft shell or hard shell tacos?
Soft shell.
My mom is so hell-bent on saying hard shell tacos. I don't know why.
Yeah, I know.
Soft shell is
Somebody
just so
steer made that. Ooh, nailed it.
What is it?
That is the beefinator. That sandwich will kill you. We took the entire cow, we ground it into patties, we smashed them down, and we put them on the bread. Eat this monstrosity.
Oh my god. Dude, if that cheeseburger was a person, it'd be an old fat geezer from Birmingham.
Old
And the cheese chips
McDonald
and sauce.
Old MacDonald had a farm, and we took that farm, and we crushed it, and made it into a sandwich, and there it is.
You're scaring me, Gene. What's happening with you?
I also don't like the one on the left. It's just like, look at this, like, cold cheese. Who puts cheese on curry?
The Brits, apparently. Barwell FC. I don't know where Barwell is.
No, see, what you do is you take half this burger and you give it to your friend, and then you each have half a burger, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I give one patty to my pet dog. Open wide, Gene. Come on.
No. No.
Hey.
No.
Hey.
No.
Sit.
Burger.
Sit.
Burger. Yeah, left looks like the aftermath. What's this?
Chicken mushroom spinach pie. What? Unknown location.
Hi, yes, we have a chicken mushroom and spinach pie. We didn't take pictures of it, but we do have it in this picture.
Where is the pie? I don't see it.
Wait, where's the unknown location? Unknown location. This man just rolled up with this. He just came out of nowhere. He's like,
What is this? Is that a football sevens? No, it's not.
The patty is very small, but this honestly looks nicer, though, right? We agree with the one on the right?
That does look nice. Yeah, I like it.
And we can't judge this one because, oh, I hit the wrong one. No!
Gene. Oh my god, what is with the fucking sausage rolls, dude? I'm broken jaws, dude. There's no fucking like fighting it. Me when I haven't been on a shitter for 2 weeks. That's what comes out.
This is awful. Okay, we're going with the Lamb Rogan. Who would choose the one on the right?
80% voted yes. Oh. Scotland, what's happening, baby? You cannot be that depressed.
Who hurt you? Who hurt you? Who has done this to you?
Queen, apparently.
Yeah. No, chat, quit looking at the pizza. You're blocking it out. You're blocking it out. Look at the pie roll. We need to look at this together.
There's no price data. What is he holding it on? A tissue?
Look at it, chat.
No
Embrace
box, no nothing. It's just a tissue.
Chat, I need to mute real quick. I'll be right back.
Oh. Oh, bless you.
There we go. All right, so we want the pie roll, right? Everybody wants that pie roll? That's what we're going with, the pie roll?
Well, how expensive is it? I want to know how expensive it is. It doesn't tell me.
It does look like it has texture issues. Stare at it. Look at it. It will stay into your soul. That pie roll will be in your dreams waiting.
Wait, there is a little eye. Wait, there is a little eye. If you look close enough. Look, there's a little eye in the pie. Do you see it?
I do.
Little circular bit.
Anyways.
It kind of looks like a turtle.
What kind of fool?
What is up with the pigs in the blanket trying to like look at me?
I didn't mean to make that noise.
Wait, toffee? What was that? Toffee apple crumble. Wait, that looks so good though. Toffee apple crumble.
Okay, the one on the left looked like cheese sauce. Why? Those are sausages on the right.
Custard. Yeah.
Why are they white?
Spaghettinis.
Why are they that? Why are they translucent? Why can't I see inside of them? Why do they look like not sausages?
They look opalescent. I'll put them on the stock microwave. Anemic sausages.
That's just a sausage casing with nothing inside. Have you seen the guy who makes water sausages?
Oh, is it Willet Sausage? Is it that guy?
Yeah. He made a water sausage. That's what that looks like. It's just casing with water inside of it.
Oh my god, I do remember that. Holy shit.
There we go.
Custard.
What do you mean? No.
What is wrong with people? No.
Why is it textured?
Water in a box?
What is these choices?
I'm gonna fucking lose my mind, dude. I cannot take this any longer.
Why is it ridged? Why is it textured for your pleasure? Somebody.
Whoa, wait, which one? Wait, which one? Wait, hey, let's talk about this. Talking about the baguette on the left.
Yeah, why is it bumpy?
My baguette is from fucking Marks and Spencer's. I know a Marks and Spencer baguette anywhere. That shit is not £5. Also the wiener that they used. At least it fits the fucking bun, but still. It's moldy?
Okay, but we're not going water in the box. I can't do water in the box. This is Scrandle. This is supposed to be
water in a
food.
box?
Yeah, that's right.
What is fucking wrong with you guys? Oh my god. Ooh.
Here's my one issue with this. My one issue with this is that this has been katsu that's been in a container. Meaning that sauce is soaked into the breading, and the breading's not going to be as good.
Yeah, it looks too moist. And katsu, you want it crispy.
Yeah.
The chicken strips look so good.
I love chicken katsu, and that's probably fine when you first grab it, but then you put it in a box and it's just going to like downgrade really quickly.
Oh, you want me to make it worse for you? Imagine the rice underneath the katsu curry, like how hard and like textured it is in different places.
Fancy nugs. Yeah.
Yep. Fucking finally.
Woo-woo.
Barely successful Scrandle. Fuck you.
Chat, we can't
Very
stop until I'm
successful, my
successful.
nuts.
Thank you for the
It's fun date.
follow.
It's fun date.
All right. Chat. Wait. 7/7. Did I come back on June 7th? Or was it July 7th? January,
Yes.
February, March.
July.
April,
July.
May.
It was July.
Chat, this is the day that I came back.
Scrandle 1?
We're doing it.
Wait, what?
You ready?
Yeah. Why is the loaded fries getting flashbanged?
Where were you on the night of the 16th? Where were you on the night of the 16th? Answer me, fries.
These both look good. Not gonna lie. It's just the
They both
lighting's
look
really
great.
funny on the left.
Yeah, but the lighting on the left ruined it. We're gonna have to go with the right. Yeah! 93!
Hey! I remember this fuck ass burger.
It's the ickle. Just one ickle.
The ickle. Don't say
Burger
the
with
ickle.
gherkins.
I
Don't
hate
say
that
burger
word.
with Erkins. It's burger with one Erkin. Oh,
Yeah,
chat.
you see how it says gherkins? That implies more than one gherkin. You see above the gherkin, there is like some gherkin juice. One gherkin ran away.
They just pushed it on the bread and pulled it off. That way you'd think there was one. No, look at
No, it
that.
ran
That's
away.
boring, most boring burger. Lamb Rogan Josh is like lamb curry. Amazing, amazing dish.
It's
Go
so
with it.
good, dude.
That's the burger
I
you get
love
when you're depressed.
fucking-
It's the burger you get when you're in the Great Depression.
Those are some good nachos. But
Yeah,
also there's
but
a
the
bowl of cheese.
The cheese has not been cooked properly.
That's the calamari ball, bro, that I push around at the start of the game.
Jack, can I play Katamari Damacy? I'm gonna get really, really drunk and play Katamari
It's on
Damacy.
Steam! It's on Steam! It's on Steam! It's on Steam!
Katamari Damacy!
I'm
And
pretty sure. Wait, hold
I hope
on.
you're ready for me to go like non-responsive for like an hour, just like an autistic joy, just going.
Wait. Gene. Gene? Hey, Gene.
Yes.
A coming 24th of October, the new Katamari game is on Steam. There's
When?
gonna be a new one.
When?
24th of October. I'm serious, I'm looking at it.
Katamari Damacy is one of my all-time favorite games because I like having
Yeah, they
impact on
remade it.
worlds and growing and evolving.
Here you go. Here's your game.
Sorry, left.
It's called Verbal.
Yes.
Yeah. I sent it to you.
see-
It's this fucking panini! I hate this panini! Oh my
no.
god.
Chat, we gotta analyze this. Okay.
I'm not doing this again, Gene. I'm
Here's
not doing
the
this again, Gene.
cheese. The cheese is melted so aggressively into the
There's no
panini.
cheese. And
No,
don't-
you can see the discoloration,
It is
chat.
the ghost. It's
there's
the
the
ghost of the cheese. It's not there anymore.
It's melted
It's
so
like when the
aggressively
corpse. No,
that the
Gene,
bread has gone
Gene,
through the cheese.
It's like when someone dies. It's when someone dies on the bed and then it fucking rots into the mattress. That is what that is for the cheese. There's no cheese there. It's the remnants of the cheese.
That's such a vivid picture when the corpse rots into the mattress. I mean, you can see that there's coloration difference out here, chat. See? I mean, the lasagna doesn't look the best either, but like, we really don't have a choice with this one.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I missed this.
It was so visceral. The char. Ooh. Pork crackling.
Okay.
Both ultimate burger chips.
So the crackling on the right looks amazing, but that beef looks dry. That looks dry.
It just looks dry. Yeah.
2 patties. Onions, tomato, bacon, cheese, egg, mushroom. And they got the fancy toothpick. You know they're for real when they got the fancy toothpick. This was made by a guy with a giant beard who goes, "Oh, we decided to do burgers differently at our burger place." That's that. And that one actually looks pretty good. So,
What is this? Cheshire. Ah, Cheshire. Okay. Yeah, I'll go with a fucking burger.
Yeah. Yes, we're nailing this. It's the fuck
It's back.
Do we need to sit on this one, chat? Oh, sorry, I forgot I swore. Ooh, well, thank you so much for the redeem. Wait. Thank you for the headpats. Yero. Nailed it. Easy. Carmia, don't you dare pick the one on the right. Unless you have some, like, pregnancy cravings you're not telling me.
That's really mean. Saying your taste buds are like pregnancy cravings is insane.
What redeem? Redeem? Don't make fun of me.
Oh, head pats are going back a little bit.
Yeah, this looks like a monster. This looks like a monster on this. Right?
Ew, you can see like where it like you can see like the oil streaks in cheese.
Right, because it's called fries, not chips. You can tell an American made this one. An American. There we go.
DK.
Beer.
Gotta get the beer! Gotta get the beer! Gene, we gotta go for the beer. Please.
I mean, obviously we're going with the beer because what is this? Oh yes, we decided to take fries and the little bit of cheese. We just kind of dumped it together. Look at me, your cheesy chips. No, that's cheese and chips. It's not cheesy chips. You can't put it together if it's not melted. Bierschu. Bier, das
Why is the styrofoam orange?
Because it hates you.
Oh. Oh god, not the bacon roll.
Why? Why does that exist?
Wait, that's so cute. Wait, Gene, look on the left. Wait, Gene, look on the left. Look at how they did the egg. It looks like a chicken. No, it's a chicken. It's a little chicken. Yeah. That's so cute. I love that.
Reading? I wish I didn't have to.
It's from Reading. Fuck Reading. Hey. Guys, pro tip. If your scran is from Reading, don't eat it. Absolutely do not fucking eat it.
Tiki masala. 50%. Long roll.
He knows what he's doing with that fucking angle. Look at that. He's posing that shit.
That's a professionally held egg roll, sausage roll. Okay, now I hate this because what's going to happen is a lot of the people who do this are going to be European, and so they're going to pick the stupid one on the left because the right one's less photographed. And they're going to be like, oh my god, it's red on the right, but the one on the right is most definitely better.
It looks good. I don't know. Wait, the meat kind of looks a little too undercooked.
No, it's perfect.
You think so? I'm talking about the one that was near your mice. A bit to the right. It's a bit there. Yeah.
Come on, don't let me down, You let me down!
I told you, man.
Adept.
Scranner.
Adept? That's what you're giving me? Not, oh my god, you got 9. That's an A and a... No, I'm not adept. I should... Anger. Chat, this is the face of anger. Actually, I don't really look angry. Give me a second.
Cute dog boy? A cute dog boy?
Anger.
Don't be Yankee.
I'm very passionate about food. I mean, I knew that one was going to win. It was the better picture, but still. Oh, there's options. Let's see what the options are. Dox your name.
Currency. Oh, you can change the currency.
No cussing. What's Mensa mode? What is Mensa mode?
I do not know what Mensa mode is.
All right, chat, we got to do Mensa mode. Pick a date. Let's see what we have. Oh, no.
When did something happen? I don't know dates anymore.
Can we go back to January? Let's see. Can't go back to January. We'll go back to April. Is the farthest back we can go right now. Okay.
What happened in April?
May! 1st of May. Do you know why we do 1st of May?
Why?
Chat, I'm sorry I have to swear. We're gonna have to listen to a song, though, as well. You ready?
Hmm. I feel like I'm at a karaoke bar.
I woke up this morning, I had a scone and a large house blend.
Swear to me.
Then a little conversation with
Cute song, right?
squirrel and chipmunk friends. I said
I don't know this song.
I'm tired of winter
Oh, I played this a lot.
and I wish that it was spring. Then a little fella named Robin Redbreast began to sing. And he sang,
Ooh, child, what do you think that the gold was? No, Gold Winter. You ready, chat? Coming for it. Get together outside. 'Cause the 1st of May, 1st of May, outdoor fucking starts today. Bring your favorite lady, or at least your favorite lady.
water's not cold, baby, dip in your victim. Maybe I'll see you in flagrante delicto. Grass below you, sky above. Celebrate spring with a crazy little thing called
Fucking outside.
Whoa, what are you doing?
God damn it, all right. I guess we're gonna be doing this now. Thank you, Chubb. I'm gonna try to do a Southern. We're gonna try to do our best. I don't know if I can do it, but we're gonna try it, all right? I wasn't home, so I called my girl.
Oh my god.
entertain the world. And I said, ooh, child, I bring a blanket and I promise I will brush the ants off.
Amazing. All right, you ready, chat? We're gonna try this. All right, here we go. Outside. Guess it's the 1st of May, 1st of May. Outdoor fucking starts today. So bring your favorite lady, or at least your favorite lady. There you go. That's the best I can do.
Ollie, what
Anyway.
drama do you have with this song? I don't know this song.
You know the song? It's a great song.
I do not know that song.
All right, sorry, I haven't had you yet. Give me a second.
Christmas is ruined? Why's Christmas ruined? I'm so clueless.
All right, you can quit now.
Quit? Quit what?
Ah!
Why is it textured like that? So obviously we go with the Polish one because the sausage and pine is free for fans. So you can just roll up and say, hey, I'm a fan of this team, and then you get it for free.
Nah, you understand what this is. It's just like some like high school match on the right side, or like a local match, because there ain't even the rest of the stadium. They got rid of it. Now
No, this is a local. This is a local.
Yeah.
That's $6, Gene.
No, I'm not saying you go for this. I'm just telling you what this area is. We're definitely going with the sausage on a bunch.
Yeah, but like.
No, that's a
looks
normal
good.
burger. That's a normal
sausage.
burger. I've had these before. We're doing sausage,
That's not a normal
obviously.
burger. Ain't no fucking normal burger look like that.
Oh no, it's the Why is there a stamp on it? Who's stamping it?
What is this here? Look at the marbled loaded chips. Chippies.
Going the one on the right.
The girth of that sausage roll is scaring me.
Why'd they stamp it? This is at somebody's house. Man's like her. Look at me. I'm out of sports events. No. We gotta go. We gotta go.
No,
that
that's
one.
outside the venue. That's all the venue. Beef sandwiches with gravy. Why is it stacked like that? Wait. Look at the price. Stuff is not right here.
Oh, per night cost. The Fan Village breakfast. They're staying at the Fan Village, and so this is what they gave them if you stay at the Fan Village.
Look at the world. This is at the World Cup, dude.
Yeah, so the Fan Village is like the hotel place, right? So it costs you $268 to stay there at night, and they also give you this. Awful.
Fuck that, dude. I get the pint of Stella, bruh. Why is the sausage looking at me like that?
Chat, I gotta change the music.
It's
One
like
second.
God.
Here we go. There we go. Amazing.
All right.
All right, chat, where we going? What are we doing?
Why is it coming at me like a snake?
Oh, I didn't. I just modded Ali so that they could quit because they wanted to quit. Ali, if you do /unmod, you can unmod yourself. Good evening, good evening, good evening. God damn, I forgot I was doing Southern though. How long am I doing Southern for? Another minute. Got it.
Looks like an eel. Listen, I love eels. No, that looks like a whole ass log I just shut down the toilet last night. Those wings and chips look good though. Barnum Rovers. Where is that? I don't know anywhere in the UK.
Alright, wing and chip? I ain't feeling the sausage. I ain't feeling the sausage. The sausage is coming at me, that's violent. So we're doing this. Eh, there we go. Easy. Oh, it's $1 now.
Honey, why did you...
What's up?
Honey had a visceral reaction to what I said. Double bacon and pulled pork cheeseburger. I would honestly go for that. It's in muffin.
Yeah. No.
The chicken looks the chicken doesn't. Okay, now are we cooking with kindergartners? What's going on here? Arsenal. $8? $8? You're pulling on my fucking penis with that fucking price.
Which one do you want though?
I want the hash browns. Roast pork stuffing and gravy. That looks like chicken nuggets.
Your voice is good. Thank you. I'm glad you like my voice. This one. No.
Why'd you pick the one with the chicken nuggets?
I liked it. It looked nice.
Oh, okay. Okay. Let's talk about this steak sandwich.
Okay.
Looks a little too red.
That's perfect. No. That's what is that? That's perfect. That's perfect. That's amazing. That's fantastic.
That's perfect.
What do you mean? That's perfect.
Maybe it's a cultural thing. I never do steak that red. It's gotta be a little more.
Eeny, meeny, miny. Not this one. What do you mean? I'm so upset. Oh, the sandwiches are...
It's back again.
Potatoes.
Roasted potatoes.
Potatoes. Look at those potatoes. Look at those potatoes, chat. Look at those potatoes, chat. They're amazing. Those are perfect.
How the fuck are you gonna balance that? I'm gonna change how I crush out now.
I need this.
What do you mean? Don't change how you crush out, Allie. Crush the fuck out. I'm gonna dip you into that bucket of gravy.
5.4.
Oh my holy cheese! And what the fuck glob of...
Yeah, no, I gave you a way to quit, Allie. You wanted to quit. I gave you a way to quit.
Gee, now that they do the burger on the right, it looks wet and soggy.
That is a frozen burger that they've thrown into like something to warm it up to defrost it. It has not been put in a pan. It has not seen the surface of anything. That is a frozen patty that has probably been microwaved or set in an oven to warm.
What's the ketchup gonna do?
I think that was their attempt of saving themselves. Left one, right?
Yeah.
I did it!
Yum. You'll be back. You'll be back, it says. You proud of yourself, Gene?
I think I'm proud of myself. What do you
think?
think, chat?
You're not confident?
No, I'm never confident.
I'm confident in you because you
You
won't
shouldn't be. You shouldn't be confident in me. Why would you ever be confident in me?
Too fucking bad every single day. Every single day. Well, you have to listen to Ali.
Sorry, I was dancing to the jazz. It's lovely. This is amazing, chat. Chat, do you want to go swing dancing with me? Do y'all want to go swing dancing right now? This is perfect.
Oh, do you want to try the other food game that I found a bit ago? I didn't find it. I found it.
All right. No Googling this. No Googling this. I need you to tell me, why is it called swing dancing? And if you... why do you think it's swing dance? Why do you think it's called swing dancing?
I don't even know what you're talking about now.
Swing dancing.
I don't know what that is.
Okay, you ever see when they're like there's jazz music and people are dancing to it? And they're like doing all like the
No.
stuff. Well, fuck me, I guess.
Good boy.
Wrong.
No,
It
I've
is
not
not
been
called
like
swing.
super into like dancing.
It is
Ever
not called
since it
swing,
was.
Slobot.
Did you know I used to do ballet growing up?
That makes sense.
That's a large rock. What does that mean? Explain.
Let's guess again, chat. Why do you think it's called swing dancing?
Cause I swing my penis around. I don't know.
No. It's called swing dancing because of a swung beat, which is the beat that is delayed after the beat. That's how swing dancing happens. It's hard to describe exactly what a swung beat is, but a swung beat is how
it
like
like a
things happen after
syncopation?
the beat.
Syncopation, or I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, you said the
It's-
tempo
that's
has a
the term.
swing to it, but so I've specified it's called a swung beat.
Yo, try dancing now.
Who made me my train until I almost broke white? It's like a swinging type beat. Exactly. It's a swung beat because it happens at syncopation. Probably. I don't know what that word means. I'm dumb.
No, I was talking about syncopation. There's like two different versions of it.
All right, chat. Next one. We're gonna do.
What is happening here? Why is there a brick of obsidian on my tissue?
Chat, are you sure you don't want the one on the right? The one that they didn't even give the guy a plate for? The one where they clearly burnt it and threw it away and he just pulled it out of the trash
There's
can?
a skid mark next to it.
You sure you don't want the one on the right, chat? Are you sure? Crispy like gibbets?
Crispy like gibbets?
It's a gibbets roll!
What? What did I miss? What do you do?
Oh, gibbets gets regularly burnt and eaten.
Why? Leave
I
him
don't
alone.
know. Just keeps happening.
Look at the hot dog. That's like the most generic hot dog I've ever seen, but at least it's safe.
But the pizza looks fine too. I mean, this all looks fine.
Why is
This
it $35?
With the oh no.
Look at where it's from, Gene. Look at where it's from, Gene.
I refuse.
Dignity Health Sport Park. That's a more health park with dignity? That?
Hot dog. Yeah, it's because it's
Hot dog.
$34. You're not gonna buy that for $34.
Dirty dog.
Alright.
It does look more appetizing than the one on the right.
The photo's just bad.
I'm not gonna lie.
Why are you putting cheese on pulled pork? Don't do that, dirty dog. No, I'm dirty Dan.
It's a dirty dog.
No, I'm dirty Dan.
Ooh, good competition.
No, I'm
my
dirty
dirty.
Dan. Yeah,
You
yeah.
dog.
Nailing it.
Hmm.
Why?
Is that cheese? What is that?
I don't know.
There's no way that's cheese.
I think it's onion straws.
I'm going to chimichurri steak.
Yep. You've betrayed
What?
me.
Okay. Can I see what I see on the right? Can I see what I see on
No,
the right?
no, I know what you see on
Can
the
I
right.
type it to you?
You can
Can I
DM
see?
me.
Can I type it?
Type it to me.
Okay, I'm gonna take a screenshot.
Okay.
There you go.
No. Also, who did all my mans wrong like this? Like, there's no way anything is winning over this one, and it also took like the worst thing ever. There we go. That's balls and goo, man. That's balls and goo.
$20 pizza slime. Look
What
at
are we
it.
doing? What are we doing?
Chicago. Wait. It's from the Chicago fire. Did the rest of the pizza get burned? Cause like, what the fuck with the price? That cheeseburger.
That burger's amazing.
Oh, that's so good.
Okay.
I would have both of these.
Yeah, both of them looks like the best.
That's a really good pie.
That's
Honestly,
really good
for
pie.
that price too. The steak looks a little oily, but that's just me.
That's juices. That's
Salt and
juicy.
pepper.
Right.
Is that juicy?
We forget that this is.
Oh,
What
it's my
happened?
mom's hard shell tacos. The guy took a bite before he could take a picture. You fucking big and greedy.
This is. Oh, but look at that gristle. Ugh. The right was
I love
almost
gristle
perfect.
dough. I love the gristle dough. I would fuck that burger.
Oh, from a tailgate. This doesn't count. You can't go to a tailgate and be like, yeah, I got this food at the football match. No. Illegal crime.
This steak sandwich. Go on Germany. That one.
You wanna do the bria tacos? Fine. Wrong.
He played Hollow Knight. He tried Silk Song for a bit.
I might play it again. I do like it,
Cheeseburger,
though.
floated fries, and takoyaki. I like takoyaki.
But these are British people.
No, it's from Japan on the left.
No. But these are British people rating this because British people are going to find this app more than anybody else. And I think the Brits are going to choose one on the right.
Because they see octopus and batter, and they're like, ew, what is that? I like
Yeah.
my fat, oily cheese.
I was right.
Oh my god, these people have no
Basil
taste
Dave.
buds. Why is he holding the cup like that? Oh, I see the handle now. It's a weird handle.
Jedi mind powers, my man. Just...
Some chips.
He manages it. It's perfect. Okay, the saddest mozzarella sticks I've ever seen that are clearly from a bag and thrown into something to be heated up to, or the fries covered in the goo.
Yeah, those are like Waitrose mozzarella sticks. I've seen those before.
I
kidding
am
me?
the chosen, and I use my power.
Wait, that's from
to
Germany.
hold
That's
the-
even more sad.
Yep. There we go. Not the mozzas. Can't do it.
Really
Community stats.
successful. Fuck you. That tells me nothing.
I don't know what I'm doing. Love your mozzis.
You should try the link I sent you before the screenshot from Dutch now.
Mate, you should try
It's
what?
another food game. The link I sent you.
All right. Chat, we're gonna try
Because I
food
also haven't
guesser.
done this yet. Plate off is the one that's like Scrandle, but there's do you know what this is?
No, I don't want to know. We're going.
Right. You have to guess where it's from.
All right, where are the dishes from? Okay, chat.
Yes, the country.
Are these two different images?
Of the same type of food, yes.
Oh, okay. Who makes this? So we have some sort of slaw, fried chicken, but this is not like an American fry.
No. Egg.
Italy?
I don't think that doesn't look Italian. You can type it in.
Hungry turkey. Okay, we're gonna try turkey. We're gonna go with a long shot real quick.
Ice
Ice
cold. It's
cold.
nowhere near.
Like physically near?
So if it's ice cold, that means it's nowhere near that area geographically.
Okay. Let's go Mexico. Ooh.
Warmer?
This isn't the U.S., is it? Casado. Ah, it's like Brazil. What?
Cool.
Okay. Okay.
It's further away. Oh, where would this be? I need a map. I kind of need a map too. Fuck.
USA, do you think?
Is it from the US? There's no way.
Okay.
Cool.
Near Mexico, Guatemala. Okay.
I barely passed geographic. No,
We get it?
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. Ah, we got close.
I got some points though.
It looks good. It looks good. Yum.
Yummy. Ooh.
The
Wait.
balls of unimaginable terror.
I know these.
Yeah? Where from?
Oh fuck, where are they from? Oh no.
Scotch egg? Scotch egg? Is it a Scotch? Oh, wait.
No, I don't. Is it? No, it's
Ice cold.
Not. Yeah, a Scotch egg is more round. It doesn't look like a teardrop.
Fried sack. No, chicken broth, onions, garlic, flour, butter, cream, cheese, egg, breadcrumbs, oil, salt, pepper, parsley, green onions, hot sauce. This features a teardrop shape, savory snack consisting of dough made from wheat flour and chicken broth, filled with shredded seasoned chicken and sometimes cream. The filled dough is carefully shaped, breaded, and deep fried until golden crispy. Okay. Good night, Moxie. Ice
I feel like
cold.
it's somewhere in Asia. That or it's.
Philippines? No.
I don't think
Coxina.
it's the Philippines. No. Cox. It's, is this South America again?
All right, we're gonna guess South America, see if we can get a little bit closer. Brazil?
Try Brazil. I think so.
Brazil!
Hey! Did it.
Hey!
From São Carlos. Okay.
Amazing.
I eat
Cool.
that.
Yeah, I'd eat that.
Next round. Okay.
Beer, lemon
A
soda,
foamy
lemon
pint of
slice.
calm. Lemonade.
It is near Italy.
Oh,
Honeydew, you
do you
did
think you know this
amazing.
one?
I feel like okay, so it's gonna be near Italy. So what's near Italy? No. This isn't the UK. This is because lemon soda,
Europe.
very specifically, I feel like is more of a like that part of Europe. Greek maybe? Greek could be. No.
No. Further.
Germany. Why did I not guess that?
Shmima? How do you say that?
Schneemas? I don't know what it means. I think it's something snow.
No.
Translates to snow measure. Yeah, Schneemas.
Schneemas, okay. Bavaria, Germany.
Because I'm a bad German.
Egg whites.
I mean, that's all we do in Germany
Don't
is
be
mix
mean.
stuff. Do you know what one of my favorite
Don't be mean.
one of my favorite beverages, my mixed drinks, is Dieselbier, which is beer and Coke mixed together.
Oh. Is it good?
Oh, I love Dieselbier.
Put off, that's like the Scrandle. Oh, I know.
Ooh. Ooh.
Oh.
These
Oh,
are
you can't be putting two
good.
baddies against each other.
Oh, yeah. This feels so good.
Oh, you can see the food descriptions if you go to the bottom.
Oh, this is so cool.
Which one do you think is more like? The fuck was that register? I don't know. That vibrated my speaker. You gotta do the sea shanty thing.
What is the
Info.
How's that go? How does it go?
Oyster sales.
Yeah.
What's the name of the song?
Give me a second. I'm gonna look it up.
Joe, what's the name of the song?
There it goes.
It's just called Hoist Colors.
Yo ho, all together, hoist the colors high. I gotta stop playing the music in the background. 1 second, chat. I can't hear myself think. This is, yo ho, all together, hoist the colors high. Evil thieves and beggars, never shall we die. That one's fun.
What do you think is more like, Gene?
What?
You gotta pick which one's more liked. And people enjoy more.
Carbs. Yeah. Oh,
The instant carbs.
I want the one on the right so badly right now. Like, I feel like so unvegged. But the one on the left one, you know the one on the left one.
Yeah. I had a lot of that when I was in Indonesia. When I was in Bali for like a month.
Yo, all together, hoist the colors high. My voice will never not amaze you. I'm glad.
Do the trend where people sing in that stairwell over like the acoustics?
Fine. Find me a stairwell, chat.
You don't got no stairs in your apartment, bro?
My stairways are really open. Also, I'm not gonna do it in my
Sucks to
own
suck.
stairwell. I'm gonna. That's what I'm gonna do from now on.
You at your workplace, I don't know.
When I don't want to answer to people, I'm just gonna.
Is that what they're gonna hear right before you hang up?
Yep. Hello, we'd like to. Who the f? Nah, I guess call. Okay. Which
You
one
should
won,
send your
chat?
voicemail to that. Padak is so good. Padak is so good, dude. Perry the Platypus?
A platypus? Perry the platypus?
You sound both
yes.
so good, too.
Ah, yes. Would I like a plate of square in red sauce, or would I like food? Square in the
It's
red
curry.
sauce or food. I don't doubt that this is amazing, but I think the way they took a picture of this just makes it like not as appealing. Oh, it's paneer. That's why.
Is this
It is
a-
square.
Yeah.
And I know this is delicious, but that looks more. No.
What? I mean, no. Oh no. Why is it shaped like that?
God has blessed my time with this meal.
Why is it bacon ribbed for my pleasure?
Oh, it's like kept in one loaf and they cut it thin. Bacon. What do you mean?
I guess we don't.
Me.
Why does a bustin' bun look like that?
Me. Notice that it's from Australia and New Zealand. Notice where this is from, chat.
They're both are. Boston bun. Bacon.
This is the fairy bread all over again. Chat, pick one. Pick one right now. Which one should I pick? Should I
The meat
pick
pie.
the load on a bread, or should I pick meat pie?
Dude. Why does your foam look like foamy?
Yeah. Pie. By the way, chat, if there's any sort of lag, please refresh.
Heh. Heh. That's what I see. That's what I say when I see you, a cock. But also, you need to pick Pickle Express. Oh my god, it's so good. It's so good. Gene, you should make Pickle Express.
I should make this.
Yeah. Actually make it. It's really good.
Good morning, Amore.
There's a lot
How
of
you
Filipino
doing?
food, I think, that you really like. Hello.
Okay. I click the Philippines.
Tiffy! No! They like cock. Creole?
What is this?
Guadalupe?
What is this?
Oh, that's
is
like
this?
a longanisa. It's like a sausage. Like a pork sausage.
This looks so healthy.
I actually don't know. I don't know what they call it over there.
Eeny,
Frickin'
meeny,
Dell.
miny, mo, catcha, tiger, bias, toe. If he hollers, let him go. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. My mother told me to pick the very best one, and you are not it. I guess we're going with this one.
Did you win?
No!
Nope. Chicken. That's what you call a meal over there in the States?
I've
That's
never seen this in
depressing.
my life. I've never seen this in my life. That's a lie.
Chat to expand. I want to see where this is fucking from. That is insane.
The exact origins are unclear, but it's believed to have been brought to the region by immigrants.
Yeah, the origins were from like a 5-year-old child.
I know this is probably really good, actually. It just doesn't look appetizing, but I'm picking this over whatever this is.
Yeah.
That's right.
God. I can see. Oh no! I can't get to my microphone. I'm sorry, chat.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tiger by his toe. If he hollers, let him go. Eeny, meeny. I don't know, chat. You're picking this one. First one I see gets it.
Thank you, Sid. I honestly wouldn't have French fries with rice. That's like too much.
Oh yeah,
Mugate.
that is French fries and rice. That's dumb.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
What child is voting? That's insane.
Well, chat, I'm upset now. I'm upset.
No, don't be sad. Don't be sad. No.
I'm upset. I'm upset they didn't let me win.
Don't go.
And that's why we're ending stream. No,
It's
I'm kidding.
okay.
The stream will be coming to an end very soon, though, so let's all get together. Where's Vanya? Vanya, where'd you go? We left Vanya in the other scene. Give me a second. Vanya, come back. There's Vanya.
No, don't grab me. No.
All right, Vanya. Little beast on my shoulder.
Oh, hi. I mean beast.
Why are you so
I'm
small?
not that scary.
Who allowed you to be this small? Grow.
Okay.
Okay, chat.
I'm gonna stomp on you and flatten you.
What do y'all think about this, by the way? Did y'all enjoy this? Hello, welcome back.
No sleep. Why
Go to
no
sleep.
sleep?
Did y'all enjoy it? Did you enjoy hanging out and playing this little game? I think I want to make it into like a game series. If we can do like, we'll do, you have the best of three, right? You have the Guess the Nation. You have the Guess the Best People Palette Pleaser. And then we have the Guess the Best of Scrandle. And out of those three, we will average the scores together. And whoever gets the best score will get the highest amount of points. Yes. It's going to be a tournament.
What is the prize?
The prize, $100.
Fuck it, that's fair.
$100. Well, for the tournament winner.
I watched Vanya freak out over racehorse girls, not scared at all. I was just really pumped. Gene, we gotta play with my Musume on your stream again. I'll help you.
Hypothetically,
I'll hype you up.
I never finished my one run, by the way. I've never done a single run all the way through.
You might have to restart your account, honestly, with the shit they gave out. I'm not gonna lie.
But yeah.
Damn. Game show.
So yeah. Are y'all interested in a food tournament like that? Do you think it'd be fun? We'll do it like every Saturday. We'll do one of these. We'll build up some hype for it.
Which is Jeremy. Who is Jeremy?
Geronimo.
Gene, who's Jeremy?
I don't know.
Are you hiding your secret twin from me?
Shh, don't worry about it.
What?
You named the brick that you're eating? That's fair. Oh, perfect.
I'll
Then
eat
we'll
your
make
brick.
this event. I'm gonna start like building up some hype for it. Getting some art made for it. We'll have a form for signups. There'll be regular Saturday streams. We might have to adjust the schedule a little bit on Saturdays. Just try to get people in. Only play it to name what you're eating. No, you're not supposed to name things you're going to eat because then people won't eat them because they're friends. Then you don't name what you. Chat.
People
Really,
name
chat?
their pet chickens before they cook them in the oven.
I know, and that's horrifying. Why would you name something that you're going to eat?
I mean, your name is Gene, and I'm gonna put you in dog stew in like 5 years.
Yeah, heat. Vonnie's in the void again, chat. I'll let you come back for now. No eating me.
I'm sorry.
You're so small. I could
Can you eat me
wait.
instead? No, don't eat me! Don't eat me! Don't eat me! No! 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 No!
Delicious.
That's the sound I'm making in your stomach. Not the voice special. No fucking way.
There we go. I could shrink you. Now you're small.
No, don't shrink me.
You're tiny
No.
now. Look how small you are.
No, I
I'm
don't
gonna blow
want to
on
be
your
tiny. I'll slam against the wall like a leaf.
All right, you can be bigger again.
See, chat, he hates me. He's bullying me all the time. You see this shit, bro?
Tomorrow's gonna be Johnny. Stop eating
fuck.
people. Okay, so yes.
How many twins do you have?
I have no twins.
How many people were in your litter, Gene?
How many people were in my litter? There was no one.
You don't have the advantage of kicking fallopian tubes as you pass by.
I don't know what that means.
Me?
All right, chat. Well, we're gonna find somebody to raid out to. This is a lot of fun.
There's a shark.
Oh, Kuro Mia Lucian is live, chat. The capitalist sheep is live. Wait, do I not follow Dar?
Do you not follow Dar?
I follow Dar. Why do I not have him on my following list?
He's right below the sheep. Are you blind?
Oh, I am blind. But I
There's
gotta
no
raid it.
way.
I gotta raid into Lulu because they're doing a cool event.
Hey, Gene. I'm sorry
Yes.
to tell you this, but I paid my taxes.
Chat, how many of you have paid your taxes?
They told me to. They said they would do something bad.
How many of you have paid? You've
Or
paid your
else.
taxes. Y'all are paying your taxes.
See, me and Zeph are shining citizens. They stole my money. They stole mine too.
Chat, we're gonna do. The raid message is gonna be chat paid their taxes. There we go. There's the raid message.
What is taxes again? When the government steals my money.
Mm-hmm. And we're gonna raid into Lulu, chat. So you all be the sweetest, kindest people you can possibly be. You all are so amazing. It has been a great stream. Vanya, did you enjoy the stream today?
Did people like me being on stream?
Of course, people like you
I
being on
had
stream.
fun. No.
But we are gonna be shouting
I'm
out
so
Darord.
late. Oh no.
Go check out Dar, by the way. Dar is doing a Jeopardy stream coming up very soon. I want you all to go check that out. So go follow Dar, go check them out, get ready for that stream.
It's happening. It's happening in over 12 hours, actually.
Perfect. So go check them
No,
out later.
that's wrong. It's like around your morning stream, I think. Like right
And
after
for
your
now,
morning stream.
We're going to be raiding into Lulu, chat. So go copy that raid message. Remember, chat paid their taxes, unfortunately. I can't believe you all paid your taxes. You disappoint me so much. But there's a raid message. And we will be
Please don't
back
look me up.
later on this evening with, guess who we're going to be streaming with, chat? Keeper of Fate. It's going to be great. Love you all so very
That's my other
much.
wife.
Mwah, mwah, mwah. Goodbye, everybody. Have fun.